How would you like to make your first million? And today we have John Cousins joining us from New Mexico, United States. So tell us, John, what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Thank you, Harry, and a pleasure. Thank you for having me on. And hello, everybody. And the 5 steps is, number 1 is everything starts with an idea. Everything that comes into the world starts with an idea. And you want to make that concrete. That's ultimately the thing, but you have to start with an idea. And so testing your idea, understanding it, going through it so that you really think that you have something. And then before everybody has ideas. That's the second part, is that everybody has ideas. Ideas are a dime a dozen. They're not going to make $1 million with an idea. You have to make it into something practical. And so that's the next step, is taking that idea and translating it into something practical. The idea of 0 to 1, they had talked about that great, Peter Thiel, started that idea, and Blake Masters was in his class at Stanford. Peter Thiel came into this class at Stanford and did notes in that class. And then Peter Thiel said, let's make this into a book. And that's how that book came around. And so taking it from 0 to 1, that is the entrepreneur's, an entrepreneur is basically like a midwife. You're birthing these ideas into something real. So how do you take something that is an idea and then make it into something concrete? Well, nowadays, so that's the next step, is to start action, have a bias towards action, where you're not just going to let the idea drift in your mind, but you're going to start to take steps into making that into something that people can respond to. Because no idea, no matter how great it is, how great you think it is going to withstand the first encounter with potential customers. And that's ultimately what you want to do, is you want people to be interested enough to open their wallet and give you some money for your idea. So second part is to start testing your idea, and then you can start to modify that and see how it works, how people are interested in it. And so part of that is you want to get to the place where you have product market fit, where you have a product or a service that people want to buy. And once you have that, then the next step, I would say step 3, or maybe we're at the 4 now, is scaling that. So then you want to scale it up. So how do you do that? You can do that so easily now online, just like we're talking, and you're in London, Miami, I'm in the desert of New Mexico. We can and then share our ideas with everyone. So you can put your start to get a social media following, make something that is a lead magnet that then you can offer to people, that then you can exchange for their email address and start building up an email list. So you have an audience that then you can start to communicate with and see. Your idea, I would say one of the most important steps is you have to solve some sort of problem for folks. Either it's a pain that you are alleviating, or like a painkiller, or it's a vitamin where you're giving delight. So either it's you're alleviating some kind of a pain that people have in their life, or you're giving them delight. Those are the only 2 businesses there are. So you have to figure out which one you're going to be in, and you have to make something that people are going to value, that it's actually doing something that they need done in their life. And the way that you find that is by just things in your own life that are that bother you. Something like, I wish such and such would happen, or blah, 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 or, and then you say, maybe let me reverse engineer that. If that's what I would like, how could I make that happen? And nowadays we have just so many tools at our disposal to make a business without a whole bunch of money. It used to be, you'd think, if only I had $1 million, I could start a company and hire people and all this. Now you can do it all automated and get your ideas out there and open a Stripe account or a PayPal account, and people can deliver money right into your bank account, and you deliver them some sort of a digital product, a digital download, a PDF or videos, courses or books or whatever to start. Then you can start to create value, and you're going from 0 to 1. And then once you get from 0 to 1, you have that product market fit, you know, you have something that really works. Then you can scale it. You can start spending some money as you're making money, spend some money on Facebook ads or on Google ads, or start doing some paid ads, and develop a social media presence, and all those kind of things where people know who you are, and then they start to trust you because you're creating value for them, and then you take it from there. So I would say that's the way to go from 0 to 1, and you do it in small steps, and you have to do it every day. And so that's the key. One of the big things is you have to give up your bad habits. You have to stop procrastinating by watching TV or going out and partying, or whatever it is that's your favorite way to kind of cower and hide from doing the brave work of getting out there, because it's scary to get out there and present yourself to people, and then have them maybe they're going to say what you're doing is stupid, or you're an idiot, and everybody has those fears. And a lot of times they're unfounded. You go out there and people say, that's a great idea. Or, it's how you present it too. But you really have to give up your bad habits so you can create that time to devote to making your ideas a reality, and making that reality, more value than you're asking people to pay. And then they pay, and then the money comes in. And, think about it. $1 million is not that much. If you have 1,000 customers that give you $100 each, that's $100,000. Do that 10 times, you have $1 million. Charlie Munger, who was a brilliant guy, who was Warren Buffett's partner at Berkshire Hathaway, he just passed away. But Poor Charlie's Almanac is a great book of his wisdom. But he always said, the first thing you have to do is scrape together, however you can do it, $100,000. If you have to live on, rice and beans, and live in a 1-bedroom or a studio apartment, and save all your surplus income until you have $100,000, that's the inflection point where from investing, you can start making more money. And so I think you have to have a nest egg. You have to have some money together. And so, whether it's getting a job or creating a couple of side hustles that give you some surplus income that then you can save, you don't take that money and spend it on a Lamborghini or something. Mm-hmm. You save it so that you can plow that into your business, plow that into your ideas.
So John, tell us how you decide to become an entrepreneur.
Well, Harry, it was quite a journey. So my journey has basically been started out as an engineer, and then became an entrepreneur, and then became an investor. Because that's sort of an arc, and when I was an engineer, I was an electrical engineer. I started out in rock and roll recording studios, and because I loved music, and
I love rock and roll.
Yeah, it was really super fun, and built up technical knowledge there. Then I went to work for an equipment manufacturer that made the audio and video machines that recorded all the music, and from there I went to television. I worked for ABC Television out of New York, back when there were 3 networks in the United States, and there wasn't streaming, and so it was and in the 1980s when network television was still very powerful. And then from there decided, I was an engineer. I was developing and building facilities for the network, and doing all kinds of big broadcasts like World Series and NFL football, and news and sports were our basic, the live television were our clients within the company, and space shuttle launches, and political conventions, and Olympics. I did the Olympics in Sarajevo in 1984. I was part of that team. And as I was building, what we were doing all the time was pushing the state of the art. Production people would say, we want a slow motion camera. We want a microphone that could do this. Or we want, writing on the bottom of the screen of the names. And so I would work with companies to develop these tools, and then we deploy them. And then those companies would go and sell hundreds of them and make tons of money. In fact, that was, my ideas, basically. I would translate these ideas of what the need was, talk to these companies, they would make it. And I thought, I want to be on that side of the business where I'm actually, not only creating that value, but capturing that value. I didn't want to create the value and let somebody else capture it. And that's what happens when you work for a company. The whole idea of working for someone else is that you're making more value than they're paying you, and that surplus value goes to the owners.
Yeah.
So you want to capture that surplus value that you're creating, you have to be an entrepreneur. You have to work
But
for
still,
yourself.
you have to be very comfortable because as an engineer, I'm sure that this company pay you a lot of very good money, and they keep you very happy to stay in this company. So why would you all go out of your comfort zone, out of your comfortability? Like, okay, I go here, I invent something, I create something, but you know what? I'm coming to work at 8, I finish at 5. I don't have to worry about anything. I can enjoy my life. Why you decided to go from comfortable to uncomfortable? I think that you just described it. Yeah, it was worth it. Was it really worth it?
Well, now those are great questions, Harry. And exactly, it's like golden handcuffs, they call it. You got these golden handcuffs.
They keep you
I'm
so
making a lot of
comfortable.
money. They're taking care of me. I have a per diem. Like I say, I don't have to worry at the end of the day. I go and so there was a lot that I gave up for that, and that's true. Basically, what I decided to do was I realized I didn't know anything about business. I knew about engineering, but I didn't know about. I picked up a ABC annual report, and I realized I don't understand this balance sheet, income statement.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Strategy. So I thought, and I always wanted to go to business school. So I decided I'll go to business school. And so that was
that was good. That was a good idea.
that was good, and that was my transition. I just didn't. I went from working there to I went and got my MBA at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. Wharton.
That was a
That's
good
where
idea.
finance, a lot of numbers people go, they call them quant jocks, right? Because, they from engineering, I knew all the numbers. So finance was something that I kind of could understand the numbers of. So went there and got my MBA and thought I'd go back to New York and, work for, one of the big companies there or, try to do my own things. But then
Go ahead. Yeah.
fell in love with New Mexico and wanted to move out here. And that was kind of another big leap because it's not a lot of business opportunities out here. I had to make up my own business opportunities, So I love the lifestyle. I love the, if you look, I'm living where
It's
it just
fantastic. Yeah.
incredible area.
Unbelievable.
And it's beautiful. But now that they have the internet, I can talk to you, wherever you are, and we can talk to everybody all over the world through these things. So I feel much more connected, but those are big leaps. And then I started a bunch of companies. I started to and that was tough. I'll tell you, when I went to business school, 2 years not working, I had a young family to support, so I had those expenses, and it was like $100,000 in tuition.
Wow.
More than that. It was like $70,000 a year, so about $140,000. So I ended up in those 2 years digging myself like a $400,000 hole. And so then I started wondering, is that worth it? Was that really worth it? It's a big commitment. And so that's what I do now is after all my making companies, I took 2 public. I ran the public companies for 15 years as CFO and CEO. And then I decided I have a company now called MBA ASAP, and ASAP is as soon as possible. So it's a business administration.
I love the name MBA as soon as possible. Yeah.
ASAP. So just the things that you
as cheap as
really need
possible
to
and as affordable as possible as well. Because John, I see these people, in London, right? That they want to spend thousands and thousands of pounds in an MBA, and I'm looking at them and say, look. I used to, my main business was in property. We managed to save 5 million, but I had one business once. There was a restaurant in a very competitive area in Brick Lane in London. I lost £200,000 in that thing. So I always said to the people, if you really want to do proper MBA, open a restaurant, you will see in a competitive place, and it's gonna be more effective, because in the end of the day, John, entrepreneurship is about it's a skill. The more you practice, the better you become, right? But also knowledge is important, and I think, John, that in those business schools, including this one that you pay, how much you pay, like $100,000. I'm sure that most of your teachers, they were no entrepreneurs. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong.
Payroll.
I applaud you. And I've been thinking, yeah, because I study chemical engineering because my parents want me to be an engineer and to find a job and to be exactly the same corporate. So I become an engineer to keep my parents happy, yeah. So, but the whole thing is that once I think that the other thing that we get out of engineering that is applying for business is that every day that we go to the university, we listen in the word problem. There are physical problems, there are mathematical problems, there are chemistry, but we spend 5 years, yeah, solving problems that they are hypothetical, yeah. So somehow our brain develops certain capacity to solve problems. We know that problems have different solutions. We are not scared of problems, and I think that this helped me a lot in my career as an entrepreneur. Yeah, so when this is something, John, that you have when you decide to become an entrepreneur, that most of the people don't have. That at least you were not scared of the word problem. Yeah, and you got a lot of, like I said, knowledge that you learn in this MBA. Obviously, is priceless, right? But we need more entrepreneurs teaching MBAs, right? What do you think about this?
Harry, I absolutely agree with you. And I think with engineering, it's a great beginning thing to do because one, it's a career you can always fall back on. And like you say, you're solving problems and it teaches you systems thinking and process thinking. And that
Very
is
helpful.
really good for an entrepreneur. If you have something you have to do, you know how to reverse engineer it and then make steps to get from here to there. And so that kind of training is really, really good, I think. But you're right. When I went to my MBA, it was a lot of theoretical knowledge. They were all PhDs and they had all just gone to school and read books about it, and so that's when, I started teaching in some universities after a
Oh,
while.
wow, that's very good.
Yeah.
Well done
And I
for the
realized, the
university.
textbooks are like this thick, 800 pages. And I said, I've been a public company CFO for, 15 years now, and CEO, I can boil that down to 10 pages of this is what you really need to know. Go out and start doing it. Like you say, it's a practice. And the only way you really learn it is by practicing, making a mistake, or, it's not even a mistake. It's not the right way to do it. Acknowledging that very quickly and then pivoting to something else, trying something else until you figure out, this is the way it works.
It's
And
like driving. It's like driving or swimming. Is the more you practice, the better you.
you can read 100 books on driving and not really know how to drive until you get behind the wheel. And all of a sudden, there's something in the road and you got to turn. And so you start to learn how to do that. And yeah, and then the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship too, is that once you do it, then you can do it again and again because you start to learn that it's a skill and it's a process. And once you figure out your way, then you can apply it to lots of different situations. And I felt like after a while, I just didn't want to work for a boss anymore. I didn't like being constrained by people telling me what to do. I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
But John, after 2 years of $400,000 down the line, you have your family and everything. This has happened in your head sometime that maybe I should go back to my job. Or you were so determined that you buried in the back of your mind, well, I'm gonna try one more year, but if this thing doesn't take off, I go back to my job. I know they're gonna take me. You were
sometimes
like this.
Yep. No, I have a good friend who's a partner of mine for a while. Wonderful guy, very talented. And he used to say, well, if this doesn't work in 6 months, I have to go back and get a real job, and I, that's the way, we always
Get a real job, yeah.
But right now it was too much fun doing the kind of things we were doing. So,
how about family and friends? Do you have any pressure from family and friends that say, well, I still, my mom, she doesn't understand what I do. Yeah.
Same with mine.
And then when we said, I'm going to expand the company, they said, don't expand. This is my mom. Yeah. Don't expand. It's okay like this.
Right. It's diverse. And And it comes from love. I know they love us, and so
Yeah,
they want to
they don't know
be
anything.
good. And that's why our parents tell us to be an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer because they think those are strong careers and you can do that. And lots of us do that. You became a chemical engineer. I became an electrical engineer. We did that to please our parents because when we're young,
Yeah,
we don't really know
there is
what
no
to do.
entrepreneurs
But
in my family. I
okay,
don't know about in yours, John, but there is no entrepreneurs in my family. Everybody,
they were hardworking. Yeah, just hardworking people. Yeah, and so
yeah,
they didn't understand when I was
they
doing
didn't know
this.
any better. They
They just,
just telling us, look, you want to do good in life, go to university, study a degree, find a good job. This is how you're gonna do it, and this is the dream that they stole for you, and then you want to make your parents happy and proud of you, so you go and do this. But then you go to work. At least I was in the same boat. I was very difficult as an employee because I always want to solve the problem in a different way, and exactly the same thing, right? Like I remember I used to work in Spain as software developer, yeah, developing software, but then I end up doing project management company,
Mhm.
yeah. So
And that's yeah,
they told me don't write code anymore. It's better to do this, right? Because it was more because you have an engineer, so it's better to manage project. We have a lot of people to write code, but if you manage the project effectively, we can save a lot of money. So that thing, again, I was thinking like, what, like, well, if I have this skill and I always trying to solve the problem in a better way, and this has been very profitable for the company, saving a lot of money. I thought, well, maybe it's a good idea for me to become an entrepreneur. So I burned the boat from Spain and I went to London with nothing.
wow. Good
With
for you. Good for
Yeah,
you.
I,
And it's because we don't want to look back on our life and say, gee, I wish I would have taken that chance or I should have done that. I don't know how. It would better to try it and then maybe not do it. The best is you try it and it works great. But if you don't, then you don't have those regrets at the end of your life. Like, I shouldn't have played it safe. And why did I do that? And even if you stay with a company, it's very, very risky because lots of companies that were around 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you think you're going to have this long career and they go out of business because they were, the technology changed, the markets changed, products changed, and customer tastes changed. And suddenly the company you're working for is no longer a viable company. And so it's risky to try to play it safe.
Now, John, let's go back to another question as well, because I believe in order for you to become a good investor, at some point you have to be an entrepreneur first.
Yeah,
What do you
absolutely.
think about these hedge funds or these venture capitalist VC funds, right? That there are actually people, some of them managing those funds, right? And the people manage, and we have an issue with that also because like for example, we find out women in tech, they're way, way, way underfunding compared with men, and probably the reason for that is they're brilliant, they have a great idea, they have the same capacity that us men to grow a tech company. However, people, organization with the funds and the people in charge of managing that funds, I think they're just go and tick the box. Okay, the box, like John. Okay, how much are your sales? How much is this? How much is this? Tick, 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 tick. Here's the money.
Yep.
Whether if you have an entrepreneur there, you can have maybe more deep understanding what is the phases of the company, and probably more we can help also this project as well, that they're great project, and again they are not even looked at because of the stereotypes, or because I don't there is not that many entrepreneurs on charge of the big funds. So just
Right.
again, employees that they follow the rules and they are very good following the rules, and but they are good at this specific job. They climb the corporate ladder and now they're managing a fund for a startup and everything without never running a business, which I think is challenging because it's this extra thinking. So what is your view on this, John? Do you think that more entrepreneurs should be there in those positions, and why these funds especially have very low funding for women, startup founders, and especially women in tech? Yeah, and why do you think is the reason? and why there is no more opportunity for funding for women. United States, all over the world, in London is the same thing. So what
Well,
do you think is the main reason?
yeah, I think ultimately it's like you say, it's the mindset of the guys running, and it's this tech bro culture where it's all these guys, and they think that they know best, and so yeah, women and minorities, things like that, they dismiss and they just go after people that think like them and look like them, and then that's the people that they're going to recognize, and ultimately that's not going to be so successful as a fund because you're not looking at maybe the best opportunities there and the real talent, because anybody like women, they have to, they have to work twice as hard to show that they're as good as a guy, man. And
100%.
so they're really talented, they're really determined. And so that's the kind of person that you want to be backing as an entrepreneur, somebody who's not going to give up, not going to take no for an answer, and is going to drive and keep going. So,
Regardless
I
if women or men, if we can identify this type of founder, that's all we need, John, right?
Yep, absolutely. And so there's, I'm sure, a lot of opportunities. And I know there are some funds now where they're actually run by women, trying to target women
Hey,
entrepreneurs, and they've been successful. And yeah, there's so many opportunities. Like you say, a lot they just tick the boxes and they want to find the next Google. So they're looking for that, and they're not looking at,
other
well, that probably all
the
passed.
person of the entrepreneur, yeah. Exactly. I think that everybody's looking for this unicorn for this billion thing, and they are forgetting that we live in a society, that we have communities, and the we can help
Absolutely.
people. If we can help somehow to someone do what you did, which is was create your own job. You create your own job, and you also create a lot of job for a lot of people, right? And
Economic development. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
economic
All the folks
development,
around. Yeah.
yeah. So we call it become a global conscious entrepreneur, right? So this,
Absolutely.
and so I actually interviewed the finance minister of Zimbabwe, I think
Mhm.
six
Wow.
months ago, and this is what he told me. He told me, Harry, look, we have in Zimbabwe a program where we lend money to small farmer so they can grow some vegetables, and they sell it, then they pay back the loan, then we can lend them again, and so on. And he told me that women, they were paying way better the loans than men. So
Uh,
he
More
told me
responsible.
very
Yeah.
happy, yeah, because they are kids, and they are paying back the loans and asking for the second one and growing a little bit more. So he told me, that they were very happy lending to women, right? So I think that men takes more risk, and this is also important when when you uh, when you want to grow a business, but also to have this responsibility when it comes to money. That I
Right.
think that women they are very good at nurturing that, and I think that in the investment world everybody's losing a lot of opportunity just create a framework and help them a little bit more, right?
Yep, I agree. And like you say, women have I think a more of a sense of responsibility than men. I think men, if they mature at all, mature later than women do. Women do better. Girls and women do better in school than the boys do. They can really focus and do well. And when you're lending money, you want people to be responsible with that, other people's money. They have to be responsible with that and not say, yippee, yippee, I just got raised $1 million. Now I'm going to go to Las Vegas and, play rich guy, instead of saying, no, this money is going to go into this company and it's going to be spent, very accurately to develop this company and to pay back whoever the investors are, whether it's debt and, as your credit, type of thing, or whether it's as an investor and you have equity in the company. And you're right. Entrepreneurs make for great investors because they've been there. They can see it. They can analyze an opportunity very quickly and say, yeah, this is a good opportunity. I put my money into it. And then entrepreneurs can help the entrepreneur because they've done it before. We have the scars and bruises for what went wrong. And you can say, try this, try that. Don't do
Yeah.
this because I did that and it didn't work. Or something.
And exactly, and people want an investor not only with money, that bring also something else to the table. Like for example, you listed two of your companies, so if the startup is thinking to list the company, why? it would be a great idea to have you in the board as an investor, because it's not only money, you can bring also expertise, yeah, and knowledge. And this is also very beneficial for startup founders, because they can have a blueprint how to lead the company. So John, what type of industry is your favorite, or you don't have any preference when it comes, if the project is good, you like it, you get involved, or there is a particular industry, let's say tech or whatever, that you prefer?
Well, that's a great question. I like all the industries. I do a lot of investing in the public markets, so they break that into different sectors, and I love all the sectors. I'm a big techno optimist, so I love everything with any kind of technology, and that might be from my engineering background too. But we're
Absolutely.
developing technology so fast. So, I like biotechnology. I like
Wow.
electronics. Artificial intelligence, I think, is just going to be huge. And but it's very difficult to pick winners right now in that, because it's evolving so fast
It
that
moves so
companies.
fast. It moves
What?
very fast, and it's expensive. Tech's
Yeah, it's
expensive.
expensive. Yeah, it's expensive
So
because too much money is into it that it's been bid up in price. Yeah, so finding other low tech things that are maybe undervalued that can really be great is another thing that I really like to do. So there's just so many opportunities I see that it's just exciting. The hard part, I think, is to focus and pick one or two and let all the other great opportunities kind of go. Because
100%.
if you try to do them all, you end up doing nothing, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
it's
And then,
really, it's,
but that the challenge, John, that I see a lot of in a lot of the biggest challenge for investor. I think a lot of meetings, right, when the investors or the venture capitalists said, okay, come and see me when you have a next idea, right? So, and then the founder look at me and say, Harry, what is mean? What he's trying to tell me? This is my project. Why he doesn't invest in my project? And I'm trying to convey to the startup founder, say, look, the issue is that he will only invest in an entrepreneur, and you're not there yet. You
you have to
just
be experienced.
get a
Yeah.
product, and you have a product, but you're not an entrepreneur. You don't have what we're talking at the beginning, this skill. And unfortunately, if the investor don't see any sign that somehow you have not the full skill, but at least you're halfway, and you understand, product market fit, and you understand that you have to do marketing, and you have to sell, and you have to be flexible, and you have to be creative, and you got to keep the budget low, and until they don't see signs that you are not an entrepreneur, but you understand these concepts, not from a book, John, because
Right.
as an investor, I know that when you talk with the founder and you ask questions, you will know if he actually done it or read it from a book. Yeah, and sometimes founders, they think that investors are stupid. They always say, look, the reason that he's an investor is because most likely, yeah, especially if he's an angel investor or something, is more likely have been an entrepreneur, most likely have been several exits, more likely is have seen a lot, right? So we cannot go and talk to investors with an idea, or with this basically
Egg.
we can know if you go in there trying to raise funds to try to fool the investors, it's not going to work, because they can smell it. We feel.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to be experienced and know the way. So yeah, like you were saying at the beginning, the ideas first, and then making a minimal viable product, one that's just put together that you can put out into the real world and see what the responses are, and then from that iterate
And
and validate.
that is when the problem starts. Yeah, that they're gonna come to you and say, John, you know what? I want this amount of money for the minimum viable product. You're talking to them and saying, look, it's a minimum viable product.
It
Minimum.
has to be
Yeah.
cheap.
Why do
Yeah,
you need so much money if it's minimum? You should be fine for what you have. No, no, no. We
right.
need the minimum. So now they don't want to create the minimum anymore. They want to take your money to create something that is not even minimum. Now They're
A
gonna
maximum.
create a big elephant with your money, and then they're gonna come back to John again. John, we create this big elephant, and now because we haven't asked anyone, we cannot sell it. So we need more money, John. So we can go and market it to see if they want the elephant like this or what to shape it. So and it doesn't.
Because you know you're going to make mistakes and you're going to have to redo it, and that's the thing. And then once you get something that people like, and you got that product market fit from that minimum viable product that you didn't spend much money on, and once you have that, then you can start to scale it. And I have to say, I always thought at the beginning that once you make the product, once you make the service, everybody's just going to come, they're going to know about it, and that's going to be. And I found marketing and sales are really the hard part. That making the products the easy
I
part.
agree with you
Marketing and sales are
100%.
the hard part, and
Yeah.
that's where money, you need the money for, and so you can't like blow your money on the product and then have no money for marketing because,
100%. So that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Like if you see an entrepreneur that come and say, "Okay, John, did you see this is my minimum?" Because a lot of people, everybody's looking for funding, but nobody
yeah,
hears from an investor what the investor really wants. What is it looking for? Yeah. So can you tell us, John, briefly, what is the ideal scenario for the investors in some line, like for example, this basic thing that looks basic for us, but obviously the founders they have different dynamic. They don't understand that that if you have a product and it's actually an MVP and you spend very little and you create something and then you go out yourself and with your little team and you sell to two, three people and you make some kind of revenue. These are very good signs for the investors. Very good signs, even if you're
absolutely.
not an
Yeah.
entrepreneur there. So, John, tell us why is so hard for tech founders find funding? Yeah, and what are the signs that the investors are looking for to to support them? But again, they need to see some signs. So, what signs the investors are waiting for?
Great questions, Harry. The way you set up. One thing I just want to say about being an entrepreneur, like you said, hiring people and giving them a good life, because what your creation has done is made enough money that you can give people a livelihood. That's always an incredibly satisfying thing. And then also developing their talents to make them better, at their skill sets and stuff. But for this, I think that people go out and, try to raise money too fast. If you can just get that minimal viable product, get it out in the market, and then do customer discovery and customer validation, where you really get some customers. These are people that are going to pay you to, even at the minimal viable product phase where it's still buggy and not really, but they want that so bad, they're going to pay you. That, like you say, is a super indication to an investor that this product and this entrepreneur understands the process and got something that people want. So that, and also with a real timeline of where the exit's going to be. The problem with raising money is, if I put money into the stock market and I buy Google or Meta or whatever it is, company, I can always go and sell that stock tomorrow and get my money back because it's liquid. It's a liquid market. Venture capital and angel investing is not liquid. If you give them a check for $100,000, you're not going to see that money again. If you're lucky, you might see it again, but not for 3, 5, 7 years. That's a long time. So if you have a product and say, I've got this thing, I've got these customers, I know that this customer segment is pretty large and I know how to reach them. It's an addressable market and I'm going to build this company to this amount in this amount of time. And here's the milestones and deliverables. And we're going to exit by acquisition in 3 years. We're going to sell this company to one. And here's the targets that we think will buy us because they'll want this to fit into their portfolio of companies.
And we want to list the company in 5 years. And yeah.
People like, great. And it's going to be a 10 times return to our investors. It's like, sign me up, but if it's just like, oh, here's this, I'm going to make the revenue go like this. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, I don't really know. It's going to be because we're so great. Everybody's going to love us. That's not good enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. They have to have like testing, like some numbers
Testing.
to validate, to validate this. And I really think that, if with the right, that's why sometimes, John, I hear a lot, some investors tell to the startup founders, like you said, they sometimes a second time founder, it becomes even more attractive to investors because they already tried to run one thing, it didn't work, but now those founders, they do have experience, they are more close
Yep.
of what actually how the dynamic is. Whether I don't know why, but the standard or how everybody thinks, yeah, is okay. You know what? I'm gonna create this beautiful product, and everybody will come and buy it. Yeah, we all been there. Yeah, in some form. Yeah, when I opened a restaurant in Brick Lane in London, I lost 200,000 pounds. Yeah, and I have a brilliant idea to do a guitar in the ceiling. Yeah, and my bidder telling me, Harry, do you know how much this guitar is gonna cost? We have to close this place for 2 months just because of your guitar. Do you really want this? We do it, but do you really want it? I'm like, no, this restaurant is gonna be so
Right.
beautiful, so amazing, with Spanish guitar on the roof that everybody gonna come. Yeah, so all the money, time, and effort went to this amazing product. Guess what happened? I opened the door, no one came in, zero. And
But I think we learn much more from our mistakes and our failures like that. That's where we learn. It's like, what did I do wrong? How did
yeah,
what that's where we learn. If we have a success kind of breeds arrogance, and we think I'm brilliant. Anything I do is going to work, and then we're setting ourselves up for a big failure. It's better to
100%.
have this type of things where, wow, I thought it was going to go this way, it didn't. What did I do wrong? So we learn. That's where we really learn. That's what I've learned. Yeah.
Yeah, today the restaurant is a Chinese restaurant, and I still have my guitar there. The Chinese, the Chinese guy that took it, he said, "Well, I'm not gonna spend a week removing this. What's the point? I better use this money to for marketing and to bring clients and to sell my food." Yeah.
But I think that those kind of experiences teach us humility too. So it's like, well, I don't, I really need to test this out in little doses to see what works and find out what works. Yeah. And I think that's it. I'd rather have failures that teach me humility than successes that make me arrogant, because
Yeah.
then I know I'm going to be set up for failure.
That's the other thing, John. How do you maintain yourself aligned with the this ego, and because we being an entrepreneur, this ego and arrogant, oh, I'm the boss, everybody have to do what I say, and then the company's struggle, everybody fighting, the culture is not there. So and we realize with experience that the more we surrender this ego, the more we bring everybody in the team, and the more we create that culture. Yeah, actually, from my own company, my manager, they fired me. I went to work one day, and they told me, Harry, go home. We don't need you anymore. I'm like, what? I said, no, go home. So you need Pepe in
That's
the
when you know you're a success. Yeah.
yeah. They say, I said, you need Pepe in the photocopy. They told me, no, we can get our own Pepe in the photocopy. Go home, travel the world, do whatever you want. We don't need you here
Excellent.
anymore. And it wasn't
That's
amazing.
it.
I feel a bit weird, like strange, but that was an amazing experience. Yeah. Well, amazing experience. Sometimes a lot of people talk about how to deal with failure. Nobody talk how to deal with success. I had so much money. I was not doing nothing. I was so bored. I go to Brick Lane. I open a restaurant, and I lost 200,000. But this is for another podcast.
No,
So
but that's true. How do you deal with success? When
it's
you climb
tough.
that
All
mountain,
these things that
people
exist, but
don't
it's not.
don't know what to do. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's good. You actually trained a team that could do everything. I mean, that is the pinnacle of success to be able to do that. So that is wonderful. And you're right. It's a balance of, you have to have the ego to say, I can do this. I can charge forward. I can make this happen. But then it has to be balanced with the humility of like, I may be wrong. I like that idea of strong opinions loosely held, where you have strong opinions, but they're loosely held because if you get new information, you're willing to change your mind quickly, and that's really key. But that's sort of the art of it, within our own minds. It's like we have to have this, we have to think highly enough of ourselves that we think we can do it, and then we also have to think, wait a minute, though, the world is is not going to conform to our will. We have to be flexible. Yeah.
So John, if someone, if some tech founders or some founders are listening this podcast, I want to talk to you or want to share the project with you. How can they find you? How this process work?
Oh, yeah, thanks. Well, if they just Google my name, John Cousins, it comes up, Cousins. And my company, my website is MBA-ASAP.com. And on there, I have access to all my courses. And I have a community, too,
Wow.
that is peer to peer, where people get together and they share their ideas, they support each other. And then I have all kinds of different coursework in there for them to do get to skill stack, to get better skills in strategy and marketing and finance and accounting and, management and leadership and negotiations and all these kind of, skill sets that an entrepreneur has to have all of those, to really, and make a mosaic of them to conform to what they need to do that day. And then they need other skills the next day. So you have to be, very, very knowledgeable and skilled in all these areas, I think, to be successful. And that takes some time. You can do it fast, but you need all those. That's why I try to, do it fast. And then people that are out there wanting to do it, they don't have to read all these textbooks and stuff. They can just, boom, go right out there and start applying these things and see what works for them.
The better you become.
Yeah, get that toolkit together. Yeah. And, I'll send you all I'm on all the social media and everything else, so they can reach me that way too. I'll send you all my links to the different things.
Thank you so much.
And a newsletter, all that kind of stuff too. So.
We'll be in the description of the podcast. And for all of you following the broadcast, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneurs like John break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Thank you so much, Harry.
Pleasure.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.